Namaste. Words are extremely important in the way that we communicate, of course. The word like Namaste is only one single word, but in fact, it means so much more than just a single word. So Namaste actually means, well, my version anyway, is the divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. So whatever is divine, whatever is my spiritual self, salutes and respects and worships the divinity and the divine within you. That's what Namaste means. It's the ultimate mark of respect. And you'll see and hear and hopefully share that type of feeling several times in the next few days at Mlove. Because Namaste is, if applied to humanity, would stop the wars that we have. It's the level of respect that is beyond a simple word. Simply saying Namaste to be cool, to be saying the right kind of thing, doesn't actually make the most of what Namaste actually should mean. The divinity within me salutes the divinity within you. So let's start again. Namaste. The most powerful mobile communication device in the world was actually the African drum. It's many thousands of years a predecessor of the mobile phone, communicating messages from communities and villages. One drum beat can actually travel about 6 or 7 miles. But you can relay drum beats across communities, so you can actually beat a story that can be relayed across thousands of miles. And for many thousands of years, this has been the most effective and powerful mass communication mechanism far before the internet and mobile phones. However, there's a massive problem with drum beats. And the massive problem is that a drum beat sounds just like a thud, right? So you can maybe make up stories or words. You could maybe say Namaste could be. The problem is that sometimes that could also sound like something else. So if we take, for instance, in the language of Kele, which is an unwritten language, the language of Kele, there's a word, 2 words called Alambaka Boli, and that is expressed via the medium of drum, and there is this is a great example of what the issue is with translating messages across communities. So, Alambaka Boli could mean, depending on how you hear the drum beat, he watched the riverbank. But it also, unfortunately, means he boils his wife's mother. So you can see there's a huge problem with actually translating messages from one place to another. And so that's why, from the world of mass communication, in African drums, we've had to actually add words or add stories around what we say. So rather than me saying Namaste, in African drum language, we have to actually build that story. So I have to explain the divinity within me salutes and respects the divinity within you. I can't just say Namaste. We have to build the story out. So the word Songa, I don't know why I keep pointing over here, because there's no slides over there. The word Songa, late night. The Songa, not as late as Chester's night. Right? So the word Songa, for instance, which means the moon, can't just be expressed via drums as Songa. Actually, you have to create the story around it so that you actually explain that it's the moon that looks down at the earth, that looks down at the world. And that's how, through African drums, the most powerful method of mass communication, mobile communication, stories have translated by building context. And that's probably my main point for today, and my feeling for Mlove this year, is how we can actually build context and meaning around what we do and what we say here. This is the world we live in now. How advanced we are. We have moved into a situation where, rather than having meaningful drum sounds, we are able to express emotion through 3 letters. We have an amazing ability to create micro headlines on micro billboards. We're able to be citizen journalists with micro journalism tools that can express our feeling. My brother gets married, I send him a smiley face. My sister moves house, I send back GL, good luck. What happened here? In 25, 35,000 years of mass communication, we've actually created an amazing ability to create a huge amount of noise. We're expressing for the sake of expressing rather than expressing for the sake of meaning. We're just saying stuff. I'm here. I'm making toast. I'm drinking tea. We're not necessarily moving meaning from one place to another. It's almost as if we're creating context vacuums. It's almost like how we're communicating is removing all context. Hey, Anika, how you doing? Morning. It's like we're removing the context so that we can easily express ourselves in the cheapest, simplest possible way, in the fastest possible way. But yet we have these tools in our hands that actually, if you think about it, could be hugely empowering to humanity if we play it right, if we play the beat right, with our African drums that are now our mobile devices. And the air in which the African drums traveled is now the internet. If you think about it, we could be empowering humanity rather than creating context vacuums. And actually, really, we have weapons of mass communication. And with our weapons of mass communication, if we use these right, then we can actually use our human will to express ourselves into all new areas. And Yuri was speaking of many areas you could stretch into. And Chester was talking about how we can actually train our brains to be more capable. If you look at it in another way, you could even arrive in a scenario where you have privacy as a currency, where you flip industry around and it starts for the value chain with people. Who knew that we could have the ultimate right of our own data? Who'd have thought our identity would be owned by us, maybe? It shouldn't be a bizarre concept for me to say in 2012, but when this video plays out in 10 years, maybe it will make more sense. We have an extreme capability, actually, of empowering revolutions, of overthrowing what was old and what is stayed and what is legacy into building a new future. And I'm not trying to be rebellious by saying this. I'm not trying to be edgy and funky, talking about revolutions and people power. I'm just saying that actually, if we use the tools that we have now in the way that we could do, we could change our fortunes for the future. And so here is my last slide, second to last slide. The way in which I live and my passion, which is expressed with a picture of nothing, actually, I can only illustrate what I believe in with a picture of nothingness. Because I'm ultimately trying to seek clarity and enlightenment. I'm trying to remove noise. And I practice Zen Buddhism, so my entire view is trying to get down to meaning. I would like you to think about these 4 words, and I have no trick for you to remember them by. It's just, hopefully you'll be able to anyway. But I'm going to talk about these 4 words in 3 ways. One is what you could do in your company using mobile. Very important stuff. Secondly is how you could use Mlove to better yourself and the people around you. And the third is how you could maybe employ these 4 words into your life. But it's the same 4 words nonetheless. Here goes. You could use mobile in your company in your activity, as a way that the people in your fan base, in your consumer base, would be able to find what they want by filtering out the unnecessary. I believe you could also use mobile to enable the people in your community, in your fan base, and your consumer base to discover the path that is the most true to them in what they want to do. So filtering out the noise, discovering the path, and thirdly, I think you could use mobile to enable people in your consumer base, your customer base, and your fan base to focus on what's more important. Different from filtering noise. Focusing, like turning a camera lens. And fourth, you could use mobile in your company for yourself and your consumer base to enable the people who love what you do to be courageous in supporting you. And here's how you could use Mlove. You could put all of your experiences in the next 2-3 days into one of 4 boxes. You could put experiences that you have in a filter box, which is, what am I discussing and what am I learning from people that it's enabling me to filter noise out? You could put your experiences into a box which is the path box. So maybe in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, 144 hours, you're actually able, maybe, to discover what is your true path more. So when you're listening to me, and when you're listening to Yuri, and you're listening to Harold, and you're listening to Chester, and all the other incredible lineup speakers you have, maybe you could think, is this enabling me to filter the noise? Is it enabling me to find my path? Equally, is it enabling me to turn the camera lens and focus? What's enabling me to focus? And fourth, what is enabling me or others to be courageous in following their path, in filtering the noise and focusing on what matters? And finally, if you think about these 4 words in your context of your life, think about a woodland, a forest, with lots of trees and birds and a path and grass. Think about all of that noise, okay? Beautiful scenery. But think about how you would filter that in your life down to the only thing that matters, which is the path. The trees are beautiful, the birds are beautiful, etc. But the path around the middle, that's the main thing. And the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So think about in your life how you could actually filter the trees and the birds and the beautiful country houses to what the path is. And think about then how you could turn your camera lens in your life to what really properly matters. Once you've been able to filter the bullshit, filter the noise, filter the OMG, filter the WTF, and filter the fucking LOL to the path and focus on the path, how could you also then be courageous following that path? Filter, path, focus, courage. Namaste.